The Pacific Crest Trail, spanning 2,650 miles from Mexico to Canada, is a breathtaking and challenging hiking trail which draws countless enthusiasts every year, eager to experience the thrill of trekking through its rugged and remote terrain. Nevertheless, the trail has also been the site of numerous tragedies, claiming the lives of at least 20 hikers who have either lost their lives or vanished without a trace. Today's video will go into detail on some of the deaths and disappearances that have occurred on the Pacific Crest Trail since the 1980s. So let's get into it. The Pacific Crest Trail, PCT for short, is a world-renowned hiking trail that spans 2,650 miles from Mexico to Canada, winding its way through the rugged and diverse terrain of the western United States. The epic trail traverses through some of the most spectacular landscapes in North America, ranging from the arid deserts of Southern California to the towering peaks of the Sierra Nevada and the lush forests of the Pacific Northwest. It is considered one of the most challenging and rewarding hiking trails in the world, attracting thousands of hikers each year who come seeking adventure, solitude, and an escape unrivaled to most. Whilst the PCT can be a thrilling and life-changing experience, it is not without its risks. The trail is remote and exposed, and hikers must be prepared for a wide range of weather conditions, including extreme heat, snow, and high winds. In addition, the trail passes through areas inhabited by potentially dangerous wildlife, such as bears and mountain lions. Unfortunately, since the 1980s, there have been several deaths along the Pacific Crest Trail. Some of the deaths and disappearances have been attributed to harsh weather conditions, such as extreme heat or sudden snowstorms, while others have been caused by falls or accidents. The first recorded deaths on the trail takes us back to 1983. The trail has been popular since its formation in 1977. However, attempting to hike the trail during winter presents even greater challenges, as evidenced by the ill-fated journey of Gerald Duran and Jody Zachick in 1983, who became the first people to die on record on the trail. The couple were walking south to north and planned to stop in Wrightwood, California to resupply before carrying on, but they never made it. On their way, they took a wrong turn and became lost. Despite their experience and skills, they found themselves on an unfamiliar and treacherously steep terrain, far from their intended Acorn Trail route. Tragically, their descent was cut short when they both slipped on ice and fell hundreds of feet off a cliff, resulting in their untimely deaths. This unfortunate incident served as a sobering reminder of the dangers inherent in winter when hiking on the PCT, and kicked off a series of deaths that would later follow. The next story is the disappearance of Chris Fowler, who went by the trail name Sherpa and was 34 years old at the time. Chris was embarking on a through hike of the PCT in Washington. On October 12, 2016, he was dropped off near White Pass Trailhead, where he grabbed a coffee before heading towards the Canadian border to complete the final 366 miles of the hike. Unfortunately, this was the last time he was ever seen alive. The last cell phone ping from Fowler's phone was located in the vicinity of White Pass around 5 PM. Afterwards, a considerable amount of snow and freezing rain fell in the region for several days. Despite extensive searches by both authorities and volunteers, no sign of him was found on the trail. Initially, official search and rescue teams under the Sheriff's Department conducted a search of the trail from White Pass and also conducted flyovers and road searches. However, after the initial search, the focus shifted to the area surrounding Blowout Mountain, where two bear hunters reported an unconfirmed sighting of him on October the 22nd. Blowout Mountain is situated 62 miles away from White Pass, where he was dropped off. The searches continued up to 2019, but to no avail. Fowler's sister said that another 15 to 20 volunteers formed a coordinate effort to comb through the areas that he was in hopes to find him, but their efforts proved fruitless. It is believed that due to the storm, Chris made a wrong turn and walked off the trail and was unable to find himself back. Our next case of death takes us to 1999. Dr. John Lauder always had one rule according to his ex-wife. This was to never hike alone. Lauder, a 69-year-old doctor from San Diego, embarked on a journey to hike the Pacific Crest Trail from East San Diego County to Canada. He began his hike on April the 23rd at Boulder Oaks. As an experienced hiker, Dr. Lauder had hoped to complete the through hike by October. However, his journey ended in tragedy when he was found dead near Lone Pine on June 5, 1999. Despite his experience, Dr. Lauder made a fatal mistake by hiking alone in the snowstorm. He couldn't keep up with the rest of the hiking group, so in his mind he thought he was a burden and decided to break away from the hiking group. He decided to hike back down the mountain on his own. However, as the storm hit, his vision became impaired and he tripped on ice, falling approximately 60 feet off a cliff into a canyon. John survived the initial fall. Despite breaking both his legs and an arm, he managed to crawl into his sleeping bag, but unfortunately, his injuries were too severe and he died before hikers reached him the following day. Our last missing persons case that we're going to cover is the case of Chris Sylvia, an experienced outdoorsman who began his southbound trek on the Pacific Crest Trail from Anza to Campo on February the 12th, 2015. He planned to hike for a week before contacting his friends to pick him up. On February 16th, he called a friend and asked to be picked up the next day at the Buddhist temple. However, Sylvia never showed up at the designated spot. His roommate assumed that he had changed his plans and decided not to go to the temple. His family were concerned and called the police. Search teams from Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties conducted a 4-day search for Sylvia. However, they had to suspend their search and rescue operations due to bad weather. 4 days later, another hiker found Sylvia's gear, including his ID, sleeping bag, and backpack, laid out on the trail, close to Mike's place. Despite a large search effort, he was never seen or heard from again. Sylvia's mother stated that it would be uncharacteristic for him to go hiking alone or leave his gear behind. He was last seen wearing a dark coloured fleece jacket, green camouflage pants, and brown hiking boots with black soles. He had brown hair, hazel eyes, a moustache, and a tattoo of an Asian symbol on his side. There have been no leads, and the case has gone cold. Our last case of the day tells the story of Nicholas Wells. Wells was a runner who loved to challenge himself on different trails. One day, he decided to run on the Pacific Crest Trail. He texted his wife to let her know about his plan and assured her that he would be back by evening. The morning of Friday, October the 21st, Wells set out on his run, but he never returned. His wife tried to contact him, but he didn't answer. She became worried and reported him missing to the authorities later on that night. Deputies stated that Wells was in touch with his wife on and off throughout the day and reported having lost the trail at some point, but found it again. Rescuers arrived at the last location Wells was seen at, but couldn't find him. The next day, officials even launched an airplane to help with the search. The rugged terrain made it challenging to find him, and searchers had to work on both the Pacific Crest Trail and Ruckle Creek Trail. Late on Saturday evening, new cell phone location data was provided, and rescuers were finally able to narrow down their search. At around 1 AM on Sunday, officials found Wells' body at the bottom of an 80-foot cliff. It was clear that he had lost his footing whilst running and had fallen to his death. Wells' wife and family were devastated by the news of his tragic death, and his remains were recovered and taken to a funeral home, where his loved ones could say their final goodbyes. That is all for today's video. As always, let me know what you think below. Leave a like as it really helps the channel, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Cheers.